Hi, I'm David Neville. I'm the arborist for the City of Fernandina Beach, and today we will be going over the tree ordinance and for the city and also the Heritage Tree Program. First of all, during the presentation, we'll be going over what is DBH, what's classified as a protected tree for the city, the ways you can remove a tree legally in the city. With that is the site development requirements, the land development code 4.05.05 and 4.0506, the LDC update with preserving trees in our city, the Florida statute 163.045, and that we'll go over the requirements for that to take effect. Then we're going to focus on heritage trees in the city, how to designate a tree, why to designate a tree, and their protections. Okay, first off, we're going to start with a short video.
Hi everyone, my name is Daphne. Welcome back to Picnic with Planning. Today we have our urban forester, Dave Neville, with us. He's going to be showing us how to measure the DBH of a heritage tree.
Hello, I'm the urban forester for the City of Fernandina Beach. DBH stands for diameter at breast height. The average chest height would be 4.5 feet, so we'll measure up 4.5 feet using regular measuring tape, and then we'll measure the diameter using the logger's tape, which takes the formula into account and gets the diameter. Okay, let's measure up 4.5 feet. Okay, first we're going to measure 4.5 feet up. Which is right about here. So with that in mind, I will now take the logger's tape. And we will walk around the tree measuring this. Original point, and where the 0 is where the tape begins. So we're at about 75.5 inches DBH for this tree. So what is a protected tree in the city of Fernandina Beach? The land development code tells us that it is a protected tree is any tree in the city that is not on the invasive, the Florida Invasive Species Council list. Categories 1 or 2, that is 5 inches DBH or greater. So a lot of times I get questions, you know, what about a hackberry? Those actually are native trees. If it's 5 inches or greater, it's a protected tree. Palm trees also are protected trees in this city, as well as pine trees. So basically the way I look at it is it's any tree unless it's on that list. And the list isn't very long of the Florida Invasive Species Council. So there's 3 ways to remove a tree in the city. The first way is through a tree removal permit. Now this permit is a free permit found on the city website under the planning tab, and it's under applications and forms and then tree removal. And this permit is a permit that I review, and I could only approve a tree removal permit if the tree is diseased, dying, or a hazard. So you can upload pictures, and most of the time it's a dead tree or there's branches all over the ground, and it's kind of a no-brainer that this tree is causing damage, it's dying, or is a hazard. Now, if the pictures don't justify the removal need for this tree, then I will contact the homeowner, go out, and we'll discuss the tree. And we'll also discuss possible options, you know, pruning those branches away from the house or their driveway, if they're concerned about damage to their cars or house. But if there's no other alternative, then the tree can be removed if it's deemed that. The second way to remove a tree is through development, and I'm going to go over that shortly, and then after that we'll go over the Florida statute. So for development, when a permit comes in for development of a new site, I could only approve trees to be removed if they're located within the building envelope or within 5 feet. So you can't clear the entire lot. You can only clear the trees in the building envelope or within 5 feet. Now these trees, when they're approved for removal, the applicant needs to pay $150 per tree. That money goes towards the tree trust fund, which goes towards planting trees in the city in the rights of way or on public property if a homeowner requests a tree. So with the tree removal, also in the land development code, it states that the homeowner or the property owner needs to maintain 50% of the inches that are removed. So at first we talk about tree numbers, $150 per tree. After that is tabulated, then we go by inches. So we measure all the inches that are being removed off of that lot. And then they need to keep 50%. So let's say that they're removing 100 inches off of that lot, off of that lot, 100 inches. They need to maintain somewhere on the property 50 inches. Now, if they remove 100 inches and they only have, let's say, 40 inches left on the lot, they need to replant back up to that 50 inches for their tree mitigation. Now, a lot of lots are kind of maxed out, and so there's not enough room to replant these. We do allow for half of those inches that are needed to be paid in a fee in lieu, and that is $100 per inch. So let's say they remove 100 inches, they only have 40 inches remaining on the lot, so they're short 10 inches. They need to replant 5 inches and then pay $100 per inch for the remaining 5 inches. Also with development, we do require tree preservation as part of their inspection process, where 3-foot high 2x4s need to go around a tree to protect that root zone. We try and bring it out as far as we can from the tree, just to stabilize the root system even better, but sometimes it's pretty close depending on where the houses are going. But that is part of the inspection process, along with a fine if they do not have proper tree protection up. Next, also, if the lot has no trees on it to begin with, we do require shade trees to be planted. So when they develop a site and there's no trees on that site, we require 2 native shade trees to be planted per 2,500 square foot for a house or a duplex. A native shade tree is defined as 35 feet wide by 30 feet tall at time of maturity. Part of the permitting process is to show or demonstrate where these trees are going to be planted on the lot. So the homeowner has to think ahead of time and has to show us that they're aware of these trees being planted. So let's say the homeowner's developing a lot that's 5,000 square feet. They need to have 4 native shade trees planted in order to get their house finalized. So if it's a triplex or a multifamily lot, then they need to have 2 native shade trees for every 1,500 square foot of property. A lot of times they can put this around parking lots or parking areas or somewhere on the property. Now, if it's a commercial site or non-residential development site, they need to have 1 shade tree for every 1,500 square foot of lot. So we also allow, shade trees, they require a lot of water, good soil, a lot of space. Some of these lots don't allow for that, so we do permit 3 palms to count as 1 shade tree. So that way the trees have a better success of living. So with that, we had a code update with the site development where before, if a tree was in the way or was in the building envelope or within 5 feet, the tree could be removed. Now we do allow for the setbacks to be reduced to 5 feet as long as it's preserving a tree that's 25 inches DBH or greater. And it has to meet certain criteria, like it has to be shown that it is a healthy tree by a certified arborist assessment of the tree. The homeowner has to demonstrate how they're going to maintain that tree for the future, and pruning or fertilization or nutrients. The tree here in the picture was a tree actually that was a 73-inch DBH tree. It was a large live oak, and this tree was slated to be removed in order to put the house there. The homeowner was the first person to actually take advantage of this code update, and they shifted their house back to preserve this tree. The home is now built there, and the people are now living there, and the tree is healthy and still there. So I'm very glad that this code update was taken advantage of to preserve our canopy. Okay, the third way to remove a tree in the city limits is by Florida Statute 163.045. This is a state statute, so it supersedes the city ordinance. Now, there was an update to this recently to basically what it is a certified arborist can write an assessment of a tree stating that this tree is at moderate risk or greater to the homeowner and that no other alternative can be done to alleviate this risk except for total tree removal. Now, the licensed arborist has to put their name to this assessment, stating that there is no other alternative. So it kind of holds them accountable for their assessment. The requirements for this is the homeowner needs to have on site this assessment during tree removal, and that so with this I get a lot of calls about tree removal, and most of our tree removal is done through this process where a company goes out, they assess the tree. In the past, the tree could be just deemed a risk, but the state has changed that because people were taking advantage of this to now where it needs to be a moderate risk or greater, and it needs to state what that risk is. So it kind of cut down the people that would come in and just remove a tree, write the assessment later when asked for it. Now that the assessment needs to be written prior to and on site. Okay, now we're going to talk about what is a heritage tree. So the Land Development Code definition is a heritage tree is a tree designated by the city as irreplaceable due to its size, age, and its historic, aesthetic, or cultural significance. Now, in order to become a heritage tree, there are 4 criteria. It needs to be a native tree to the area. It needs to be assessed as healthy by a certified arborist. The diameter breast height, or the DBH, needs to be 36 inches or greater, and it must possess significance. Now, this possessing significance, it could mean, a historical fact about the tree, or the fact that it provides habitat for wildlife, or shade for the homeowner, or shade for the kids to play underneath it. The significance I've seen by reviewing these nomination forms ranges so much, but it really adds to the beauty of these trees, how different people view the tree differently. Now, there are 2 categories of heritage trees. The first is a designated heritage tree, and that's trees that are located on private property, or it could be a protected heritage tree, which is located in the rights-of-way or in parks on public property. So the history of our heritage tree program began in 2006 with our first tree being nominated as Kate's tree. It's the tree that's in the middle of the road on Ash Street near 8th Street. This tree, the history of this tree, the legend goes that the tree was supposed to be removed for trolley lines to be built through it, and that Kate lived on the corner house, actually held a gun in her hands and said, "You will not be removing this tree." It kind of pushed the trolley lines to be re-ran, and that tree is still there. Although it's in the middle of the road, it's still healthy and preserved. So that was the first heritage tree that was nominated. That same year, there was 2 other trees nominated, and that was in 2006. Now we have a total of 55 heritage trees in the city, along with 10 more that are being designated next month. So that'll be a total of 65, which is a great program preserving our big, beautiful trees. So I get asked a lot of times, why designate a heritage tree? Well, the owner of a heritage tree, if it's on private property, receives matching funds up to 25% for maintenance of that heritage tree every 4 years. So if these trees are very expensive, a large tree to trim, so the city will pay 25% of that bill every 4 years for trimming or nutrients for the tree, cutting out insect damage, things like that. And then also another benefit is these trees are evaluated every 3 to 4 years by certified arborists to show that they are maintained as healthy, or to see what needs to be done for these trees. So the protection of a heritage tree is a heritage tree cannot be removed except for authorization through the city commission. It needs to come if somebody needs to build a house on property, or if the tree is creating a hazard to public land or something like that. These trees cannot just be removed just by even my assessment. It needs to go before the city commission. During construction near heritage trees, there's special precautions that need to be taken. You cannot cut into the soil around a heritage tree. You can't drive machinery over the soil near a heritage tree where it could damage the feeder roots. If a heritage tree is willfully damaged, injured, or destroyed, it is a fine of up to $50,000. These trees need to be, they're special trees to the city. They've gone through the process to be nominated and designated and assessed, and so they need to be maintained in good health, and it's just special protections for these trees. So how to nominate a heritage tree? On the city's website in the planning department, under trees, we have the nomination form. They're pretty easy to fill out. It's just, where is this tree located with the address and where on the property, the variety of the tree, which is usually a live oak, although one of the new trees being designated in February will be a sugarberry tree. That's our first tree that's not actually a live oak tree. Then also, why is this tree special to you? And I've received several, like I said earlier, several different ideas of why this tree is special, from providing habitat to cute stories about these trees and the history of these trees. Now, if these trees are being nominated and they're on private land, private property, the owner of the property needs to have this form notarized. And we do offer that service here at the City Hall. If somebody's turning in one of these forms, we do have a free notary person here that could sign that form for you. And that's the end of the talk today about the city ordinances for protecting trees and the Heritage Tree Program.